I thank the gentleman for yielding. My name has been invoked a few times here. I would point out that to the criticism alleged that that there being any Supreme Court precedent or support of any kind for the premise that people have a right to defend against tyranny, I would just submit the Declaration of Independence itself. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government. Now, we could sit here and go on, and I'm sure Professor Raskin would enjoy doing that, and I would enjoy having that conversation, and happy to have that conversation with you over a beer about what that means, and what that means in 2021. But what it certainly means is that all power comes from the consent of the governed. And what we're doing here is dangerously upending that in this country. That's the truth. The truth is we're turning our institutions on their head. We are eliminating the confidence of the American people in our institutions. Whether it's Dr. Fauci not wanting to acknowledge what's going on with gain of function, whether it's the CDC not wanting to acknowledge natural immunity, whether it's the FDA blocking access to new drugs in Merck, and the HHS cutting off access to monoclonal antibodies in Texas, whether it's the Attorney General of the United States targeting parents and focusing on trying to go after parents at school board meetings and refusing to back away from that, even when the National Association of School Boards backs away from their own memo that served as the basis for it. Whether it's a Secretary of Homeland Security or a President of the United States who is literally refusing to willfully execute the laws of the United States on our southern border, specifically refusing to execute Title 42, Migrant Protection Protocol, do whatever it takes under the law to secure the border, to protect the citizens, and fully abandoning that. We are upending our entire order and creating a situation where you have the governor of Texas having to say he, as governor, is going to have to figure out how to defend the border of Texas. And no doubt my learned colleague from Maryland would question whether he has the authority under the Supreme Court's Arizona decision to enforce federal law when the federal government is actually abandoning its duty under the law to secure the border of the United States. But that's what's happening. It's directly what's happening. And not one of my colleagues has been able to refute that once in any of the conversations we had about that. Not once. When we've got tens of thousands of people pouring across the border, 70,000 who have been paroled or been sent out with notices to appear. And my colleagues are shaking their hand, but they can't refute it. It's literally irrefutable because of what we're seeing happen at the border. And when my colleagues talk about, with respect to tyranny, whether or not the Second Amendment is to be used to push back on tyranny, that takes forms in a lot of different shapes. It doesn't create a right of revolution against tyranny, but what it does is empower individuals, as my colleague just explained. How about in the summer of 1965, when 20 black Army veterans in Jonesboro, Louisiana founded an armed community defense patrol, the Deacons for Defense of Justice, inspired by a visible public presence of boldly armed men. Black attitudes in Jonesboro began to change. Black housekeepers stopped accepting racial taunts and quit if the taunts continued. The Deacons model spread to other Klan heartlands. In June 1966, after the attempted murder of civil rights leader James Meredith, major civil rights organizations banded together to continue the Meredith March Against Fear. As the Deacons' example demonstrates, resistance to tyranny does not have to rise to the level of state militias attempting to oust a national dictator. But what it does is it says that the people are sovereign. The people are those from whom all power emanates. And that is what my friend from Maryland knows. And he knows that. And he wants, I'm going to finish, my name has been invoked a number of times. I'm going to finish my time just to say, at the end of the day, these are important questions that we must and should wrestle with. The rule of law governs. And anybody who takes on and attacks an institution or attacks a member of law enforcement should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But at the end of the day, if the people are going to be sovereign, the Second Amendment is the strongest barrier and protection of their ability.
Time of the gentleman has expired.